Picture a 10-year-old sitting in a classroom, finishing the test before anyone else. The teacher smiles. The parents brag. Everyone calls him gifted. Fast forward 20 years, and that same person is sitting in a job he hates, paralyzed by a decision he can't make, quietly wondering why life feels so much harder than it should. And by the end of this video, I'm going to tell you something about gifted children that most psychologists won't say out loud. Something so surprising that when you hear it, you will never look at intelligence the same way again. That question is exactly what we're going to answer today. Because here's what nobody told that kid, and what nobody probably told you either. Being labeled gifted is not always a gift. Sometimes, it's the beginning of a very quiet kind of suffering. If that already hit different for you, you're exactly the kind of person who belongs here at Mind Simplified. Hit subscribe, because every week we go this deep, and you don't want to miss what's coming next. Now let's talk about where this all started. In 1926, a psychologist named Leta Hollingworth began studying highly intelligent children and noticed something that made no sense on the surface. The kids with the highest IQ scores were not the happiest. They were often the most isolated, the most frustrated, and the least equipped to handle failure. Decades later, research from Stanford psychologist Dweck showed that children who are praised for being smart, rather than for working hard, develop what she calls a fixed mindset. They start to believe their intelligence is something they were born with, something permanent, something they have to protect. And the moment life gets hard, that belief becomes a trap. Here's the first reframe. It looks like confidence, but it's actually fragility. Gifted kids hear you're so smart hundreds of times before they turn 10. What they rarely hear is you worked really hard at that. So they grow up confusing identity with ability. Their intelligence becomes who they are, not what they do. And when something challenges that identity, they don't push through. They shut down. They avoid. They quit before they fail. Because failing would mean the thing that made them special was never real. Here's the second reframe. It looks like boredom, but it's actually fear. You've probably seen this. The gifted kid who never does homework, never tries, always says school is too easy. People think they're lazy or arrogant. But what's actually happening is much more painful. If you never try, you never fail. And if you never fail, your image of being the smart one stays perfectly intact. The underachievement isn't laziness, it's self-protection. Third reframe. It looks like potential, but it's actually pressure. Every gifted child carries the weight of everyone's expectations. Parents, teachers, relatives, they all project a future onto this kid. Doctor, lawyer, something great, and the child absorbs all of it. By adulthood, they're not chasing their own dreams. They're running from the fear of disappointing everyone who believed in them. That's not ambition. That's survival. Fourth reframe. It looks like success avoidance. But it's actually imposter syndrome at its deepest level. Many gifted adults unconsciously sabotage their own progress. A promotion comes, they hesitate. A big opportunity appears, they find a reason to walk away. From the outside, it looks self-destructive, but inside, there's a voice saying, "What if I try my best?" And it's still not enough. What if the gifted label was wrong all along? It's easier to not find out. Fifth reframe. It looks like independence, but it's actually loneliness. Gifted kids often feel different from their peers. They think faster, feel more deeply, ask questions nobody else is asking. So they learn to be alone with their thoughts. They get comfortable there. But comfort and connection are not the same thing. Many gifted adults reach their 30s and realize they've built an entire life in their head, and almost none of it with other people. I want you to imagine something for a second. Think about a teenager sitting alone at lunch, not because no one likes him, but because the conversations around him feel empty. He's not being arrogant. He's just genuinely struggling to connect. He goes home and reads. He thinks. He dreams big. And nobody around him really sees it. That kid grows up believing that being understood is something that happens to other people, not him. If you've ever felt that way, if you've ever sat in a room full of people and still felt completely alone, then you already know what I'm talking about. And that's exactly why Mind Simplified exists. Because these are the conversations that most people never have out loud. Now here's the psychology behind all of this. There's a concept called learned helplessness. It was discovered by psychologist Martin Seligman. In simple terms, it means that when a person experiences enough situations where their effort doesn't seem to matter, they stop trying altogether. For gifted kids, the helplessness gets built in early, just in reverse. Everything came easy. So they never learned that effort is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. When real challenges arrive, and they always do, they have no bridge. They were never taught to build one. People who understand this about themselves can start over. They can rebuild the relationship between effort and identity. They can learn, actually learn, that struggle is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that something is worth doing. But people who never understand it stay stuck. They spend their whole lives feeling like they were promised something that never arrived. I want to hear from you. Were you ever labeled gifted as a kid? Or do you know someone who was, and you've watched them struggle in ways that never made sense until right now? Drop your story in the comments. I read them. And if this video made something click for you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. You might give them the exact words they've been missing. So here's the question I want to leave you with. If the smartest version of you was never taught how to fail, how to try and fall and get back up, then who exactly have you been protecting all these years? And more importantly, is it time to finally let that person go?